Have you seen us routine before?
What?
Have you seen the dad's routine?
I saw it a while back during Christmas, and so it's different now.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
So I've seen it once, but
Did you sort of like Mort Saul with a newspaper?
What? I didn't hear anything.
Mort Saul. I mean, he did it for like 80 years.
I don't know. I'm sure that it is.
Where are you gonna sit?
Oh,
Oh, you are. You're gonna sit right there. Okay, we'll spread the audience out a little. I was just saying, yeah, it's kind of a bummer that we have to wear masks because they won't be able to see our faces.
they're gonna wear masks too.
No, but they won't be able to see our reactions.
Like, well, we can talk about the government too.
Yeah, that's true.
The full house, it's just the four of them.
It might, who knows? They're open.
Yeah, me too.
That's right, yeah. Seats available, they're reserved for you. We've been expecting you, but, yeah, here just in time.
No, that's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you're yeah, just because. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'll stay here. We'll spread the audience out. And look at classroom. Do you think it'll make him nervous if he sit on the phone? No.
You can sit on the floor if you like. You want to be closer.
Go down the line to his feet.
Yeah. You got into the festival there. We can get together for the one that happened here down. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But no, we're just. Oh, yeah. Four rooms. Yeah.
My day, that's amazing. It's been wonderful. I did. Oh, that was good too. I performed the first 5 pages of my new show. It went really well. And then I just say please, because I needed that video. And it's not going to be a good video. I was searching for people.
You don't think some people do that?
Unless there are people in the audience. You know, what makes a good video is a lot of people in the audience laughing. You know. I took it out for I do that thing with 75. I don't know. I'm gonna ask the class. Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be awesome. Carl, that would be awesome. Yeah, no. I'm sure it's my first time in the theater since COVID, so. Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to put an end to this thing along. No, or something else. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done it there. I did it. This is, I made it better. Yeah.
All right. Oh, wait, we are here. Let me unmute myself because we are online as well. You've got, your meeting is, okay, good. Got it. I'm being recorded. Hi. Welcome. Good to see you all. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Yay! Yay, small but mighty you are. I feel it. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy that we are still streaming. Hello, everyone. We have a few folks out there that are watching us. And I'm glad our technology worked, which is always a risk with this in this world. Anyway, so I'm very excited about tonight, and you know, we haven't been here. It's almost took me like a while to figure out that I had to leave at a certain time to get here by a certain time. So, but I got here and here we are. It's just one act show. We have 3 performers, and so you will be, be out of here by 8:30, which is great because life is short these days, I feel like. Right? We can go enjoy, know that you're gonna get home, and I love the experience of being conscious of our time, which I feel like I am more now. All right, so let's see here. We have David Rathode. Did I say it right? Yes. Yes, okay, thank you. Is a filmmaker who lives and works in San Francisco. He's directed music videos, films, documentaries, commercials, and made a few hundred promotional films for companies. Having grown up in India, he's exploring his connection to the crucial part of his life. And for fun, he makes cycling videos, which can be found on YouTube. You've made me curious. I didn't. All right, and his piece tonight is called Night Flight. So let's give David a nice warm welcome.
I'm having dinner with my sister and her husband. We've split the bill. The waitress comes and gives my sister her credit card, then says to me, "Is your name Devendra?" Yes, it is. "Have you heard of a singer named Devendra Banhart?" And I had noticed him right away because his name is the same as my first name, Devendra. I was born, my parents named me Devendra, but they called me David, and that's all they've ever called me. My father was Indian, Kantilal, and my mother American, Linda. They met in Chicago in 1947, which is the same year that India got its independence from the Raj. They were both painting students at the Art Institute of Chicago. a few years later, I was born, and then a few years after that, my sister Bonnie was born. And my dad realized that it was going to be difficult for him as an Indian to get a career going in America, and he wanted us to move to India. Because India had just had its independence, it was a very exciting time. There, it's an ancient country, but at the same time, it was a brand new country, and he wanted to be part of that whole story. So we sailed to Mumbai. As soon as we arrived, we got on a train, went to my father's hometown in Raipur, which is pretty much in the geographic center of Bombay. After a few days, he left to go to Bombay to find work, to find an apartment. And so here we are, my American mother, the daughter of a doctor, with a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl in a town where nobody speaks English. I mean, I suppose they said one word, which was David. I had a lot of cousins. I have a lot of cousins. That's what they've always called me. That's what they still call me, David. After a month or two, we moved back to Bombay. Everybody continued to call me David. There was totally unfamiliar. There was a fairly well-known Bollywood actor, Hindi film actor, who went by just one name, David. He was an older man and bald, very friendly, always played the lovable uncle or the helpful neighbor or something like that. So people were amused to see a 3-year-old boy with the same name. A couple of years later, Dad came to me one day and said, David, how would you like to spend the night tonight at Chris's house? Chris was my one American friend, my age. We always had fun. Absolutely. Our family went there. We had dinner. I played with him and his brother and sister. And it was bedtime. I was put to bed. And my mom came to tuck me into bed, kissed me on the forehead, and left. And that was the last time I saw or spoke to her for 7 years.
Oh.
She and my sister went to the airport and flew back to America. The next day in the morning, Dad said, your mommy and Bonnie have gone to America to see your grandmother and grandfather, and they'll come back after some time. Okay, I thought, theek hai, chalo, they're having a holiday, why not? Days went by, weeks went by, I'd ask when they're coming back, and I never got a straight answer, and finally I just dropped the subject. Dad and I moved in as paying guests into an apartment owned by a family we didn't know. A servant, Ramu, took care of me in the day when I was not in school. My dad was very busy getting his animation studio going. And so things went on like that. But my mom wrote to me pretty much every week. And usually she'd include in the letter a roll of lifesavers or chewing gum, something like that, which of course I loved. At that time, India was a socialist democracy. It was trying to become self-sustaining. It was obviously not a wealthy country. It was juggling the influence of Russia on one hand and the US and the West on the other hand, keeping an eye on China. There was very little foreign exchange. And so there weren't any foreign treats. So I really loved what I got. After a little while, we moved in as paying guests with another family, the Mandansas. Ralph from India, Goan from Goa, and his wife Janet, Australian. They had 2 kids, my age roughly. And it was much better. The parents knew each other. Ralph was a journalist. Dad was a filmmaker. He was getting his animation studio was just starting. They were creative professionals, which is a relatively new thing for Indians. And so there was a sense of excitement. And Janet, as an Australian, reminded me a bit of my mother. Pale skin, blonde hair, blondish hair. So things sort of felt a lot better. They had a good time. The parents did. They drank a lot, but they had good parties. When I was 10, Dad came to me and said, David, how would you like to stay home from school today? Absolutely. I was at war with school. I had asthma. So that was a legitimate reason for staying home from school, but I was always angling and looking to find reasons, and this was, a free gift. And let's go have lunch today. Okay, chalo, let's do that. We went to a nice restaurant, one that we rarely went to. And I had my lunch, and then for dessert, I had a banana split. Pretty good. Middle of the week, middle of the day. David, I have thought of something, and I've decided I am going to marry Shalini. What do you think? Shalini? Okay. Shalini was a doctor. She tutored me from time to time in math. She was very nice. I liked her. I had not thought of the subject of divorce. It was just something that we didn't know anybody who's divorced. We didn't know of anyone who was divorced. We only knew about it through maybe a movie or something like that. It was something that happened out there in the West, in the US. It didn't happen here. They got married. We moved into a new apartment, and pretty soon they had 2 kids, Nikhil and Som, who are 10 and 12 years younger than me. Things felt a little more balanced, a little more normal. The country was continuing through its growth, still having its struggles. There was a war with Pakistan, which meant blackouts and curfews and shortages. And then a little while later, there was another war with China, same thing, blackouts, curfews, even some air raid warnings. The English had pretty much diminished in influence. They had left. There was some of the architecture that was still around. The infrastructure, the train system was around, of course. But the main thing is they left behind English as the language of power. By this time, I was 100% Indian. I was about 10 years old, and all my friends were Indian. Everything, the few couples that we knew who were Indian and Western, they had left. I'd still get the letters. Mom couldn't call because we didn't have a phone. Very few people had phones. In any case, international calls were very expensive. She sent the letters, but she was really a very dim memory. There was in one of the letters, she had my sister make a card, a Happy Father's Day card, and I showed it to Dad. And what is this Father's Day business? I mean, we were barely celebrating birthdays. From time to time, I'd come across my old passport, which had expired, and I'd see the photo in it, which was me as a very young child. I didn't really believe that I was half American. It was just kind of a concept that the passport was an anachronism. I just didn't quite understand why I even had it. One day I was looking through my father's closet, and I came across my parents' divorce certificate, which was a very big surprise. I had no idea that they were divorced, which is, of course, absurd. He was already married to Shalini, but, just wasn't thinking. When I was 13, Dad came to me and said, David, how would you like to go to America and live with your mommy and Bonnie?
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. I had seen some American movies. Occasionally we'd come across a Life magazine or like an older National Geographic, and in the back were the ads for cars. It looked so cool, and judging by the ads in the back, I kind of assumed everyone in America had a boat, a really nice boat. In any case, I wanted to be a pilot, so this gave me an opportunity to fly in a jet. Yeah. But the most important thing that I got my information about America from, most important place, was comic books. Richie Rich, Archie and Veronica, Superman, that's I got my clear view of what the country must be like. So At the end of the school year, we had a going away party for me. All my friends came, Ajit, Rahul, Smita, Deepa, Camille, Beros, Rajesh, and they were very happy for me because one of us was going to America. None of us had been abroad, none of us had been on an airplane. It was just a great adventure. Terrific. The night of my departure, Dad took me to the airport. It was around midnight, which is when most international flights left. And he took me through ticketing and out to the gate. And then he said, David, you be good. You listen to your mommy, do well in studies, and be sure to write to me. Bye-bye. And that was the last time I saw or spoke to him for 6 years. Wow. We had been a team. We, especially the years it was just the two of us, we had to figure it out ourselves. There were no other single parent situations that we knew of for advice. He treated me more like a friend, and in some ways, I don't even think he knew how to parent, but he did his best. In the moment, though, all I knew was there's a Boeing 707, the most beautiful jet in the world. It's waiting for me. I need to go. So like a cartoon character, it's out the door, and the plane was pulled away from the gate. I saw the beautiful blue and green lights that are on the taxiway. And then the plane took off. And for the first time, I saw Bombay from the air, its emerald and diamond lights twinkling beneath me. At dawn, we landed in Bahrain, in the Persian Gulf to refuel. And then again in Cairo to refuel, and Rome, London, and finally New York. By the time we got there, I was exhausted because I was so excited. I was awake through the whole flight, looking out the window and checking the progress against the map and the magazine and the way the food was served and the compartmented trays and the spoon, the stewardesses, they weren't flight attendants, they were stewardesses, the bathroom, the way the taps work, the faucets work, the light switches. It just was fascinated by every detail. So in JFK, I don't remember when we landed how I got escorted from the international terminal to the domestic terminal to take the next flight to Chicago, where my mother lived. As the plane was approaching Chicago, I thought, I don't really know what my mommy looks like. She had written a lot, but she rarely included photographs. It pulled up to the gate. I got out the gate. It was very clear who she was. She was standing there with an 11-year-old girl next to her and my American grandmother and grandfather. I embraced my mom, who was a complete stranger, but I felt her warmth. On the car, on the way in, I'm sitting in the back seat. I can't believe it. I'm in a Cadillac. Nobody's going to believe me. In Bombay, nobody has a Cadillac. There are Fords, maybe we see once in a while a Buick. Even Shammi Kapoor, our biggest film star, he only has a Chevy Impala. Also, this is air conditioned. As the car pulled into the upper middle class suburb where she lived, look at these beautiful big green trees, this smooth straight road, hardly any cars on it. The footpaths are wide. There's nobody walking on the footpaths. Come on. At my mother's apartment, I slept for a day. The next day, dear Daddy, the flight was very good. America is a beautiful place. I'm sleeping in Mommy's living room on a bed. In the daytime, she converts it into a couch. She and Bonnie sleep in the bedroom on bunk beds. Also, I have a bicycle, brand new. Love, David. That summer, my grandmother took me to visit every one of her friends, one at a time. I'm not sure why, maybe my accent, maybe my manners. We have been taught to be very deferential to older people, stand up when they come in the room, things like that. In India, when you go to someone's house, they'll always offer you something to drink. Have some tea, have some coffee. But it's kind of rude to accept right away. So no, it's good. Oh, you've come to our place, you must have something. No, please don't bother. I insist, you've come all this distance, have something. Okay, chalo, let's have some chai. Which was the thing you wanted all along. When I went to my grandmother's friends, they'd say, David, what would you like? Would you like something to drink? Would you like a Coke or a 7-Up or a orange juice? Oh, no, it's quite all right. Please don't bother. Okay. What's the point in visiting old people if you can't get a free Coke out of it? That summer, I wrote to my dad occasionally, and he wrote to me from time to time also, but I didn't write too much. I'm 13 years old. I've never seen TV before. I had a lot of catching up to do. I'd get occasional letters from him, occasional letters from my friends, but it really started to dawn on me what I was missing. I used to play with my brothers they were like puppy dogs. My stepmom, Shalini, took great care of me, my friends, and the food, and of course my father. So I realized what I had gotten was a one-way ticket away from home. In the fall, I started high school as a freshman. The high school had 4,000 students. My school in Bombay had 250 students. Of the 4,000 students, there was one Black brother and sister, one Japanese American brother and sister. Everyone else was Caucasian. On the first day, in the first class, the teacher went through roll call, and as she slowly approached my name, Lynn Fletcher, John Rankin, Pam Ransom, and so I knew that is me. I'm Devendra, but you can call me David.
I'm going to turn off my email because it's kind of dinging to people in the audience. So nothing interesting, just but Bridget was that was lovely. Thank you, David. I love what I've noticed since coming back in the room for things like this, I just tend to relax a little bit more in the stories than I used to, and I don't know what that is, but I'm eager to be in the room and hear the stories and listen to them. Like people have these whole lives that, of course, I knew that before. I've been doing this for 15 years. However, something about the last 2 years made me appreciate just like what we live through. There's stories to tell. Okay, and in that vein, I don't know that I told you I'm Rebecca Fisher, and I run this with Frederick, who could not be here tonight, but she's kind of hosting our online audience.
Oh, hi,
And
Bridget.
yeah, so she's out there, and and we're at the Marsh, which you may have figured that one out, but I just wanted to remind you all the things that we forgot to do. I'm remembering we normally say all these things, and I don't think there've been a lot of theater shows recently in this space. So anyway, we're just happy to be here. Okay, next is Mark Mcgoldrick. And Mark has presented 2 acclaimed full-length shows at the Marsh, The Golden Hammer and Countercoup. He recently retired from the Alameda County Public Defender's Office, where he represented poor people in the criminal courts for 27 years. In 2022, he assumed part-time duties at the formerly incarcerated Performance Project. Mark's stories often concern the world of indigent criminal defense and disability. He broke his neck in the early 1980s and uses a wheelchair. Countercoup is available on the Marsh stream. So that specific story is on, if you go on our website, you can watch that. So that he did that on a Zoom performance. Is that right? It was Okay, great. So let's please welcome Mark Mcgoldrick doing an excerpt of a longer work that he's developing called Dog People.
My dog is very confused. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm sitting on the ground late at night underneath my neighbor's grapefruit tree. I back my wheelchair so the wheels are positioned against the dirt berm. I lock the brakes. Take the seat cushion down so I don't have to get up so high. I work my legs till they're bent to my chin, feet together. I have to fight on my pant legs to keep my legs from flopping open. Plant my left hand on the ground next to my left hip. My right hand up on the wheelchair frame. I'm going to try this oil derrick maneuver where I throw my upper body forward and down. That should raise my ass behind me, then swing it up onto the wheelchair seat. Head down, ass up, up, up to the edge of the wheelchair seat. Oh, need more lift. I do a little shimmy to get my ass up higher. Holding, holding, falling, holding, falling, fell. Fuck. Hey, boy. Era, my German Shepherd dog, licks my head. Good boy. He's a good dog. Even though it's his fault I'm here. Parents asleep, I felt like a late night dog walk. Crossing the neighbor's side yard, desert rock, dirt. He lurched. Should have let go of the leash. But he's a runner. I didn't want to lose him for the night. So I held on and went over the dirt berm and flipped into the grapefruit tree. Here I lie. No phone. No one to hear if I yell. 20 years old. Broke my neck a couple of years ago. In the rehab hospital, we learned to do lateral transfers. Bed to the wheelchair to the car to the wheelchair to the bath bench, objects of similar heights. Getting up off the ground is a vertical heft, it's a deadlift. Requires positioning, timing, flexibility, strength. You know, I've only been able to do it about no fucking times. He's a good dog. It's not the dog's fault. Things catch his eye. Like rabbits. Think about pushing a wheelchair. Your hands are busy. Anything that requires using your hands at the same time, like say, oh, holding a leash in your right hand while guiding the dog with your left. Pain in the ass. Add to that, broken ground, a grade, feisty dog. The cheat is to tie the leash to the front of the wheelchair frame. Another thing about walking a dog using a wheelchair, you can't just plant your legs and heave back on the leash. The dog bolts, it's more like, hold on. Rabbits. On a different dog walk, we were just rounding the block, the cottontail rabbit hopped. There was a pause between when the dog leaped through the rails of a split rail fence and then the leash went taut. My wheelchair with me in it, bam into the wheelchair, bam into the rail fence, bam into the rail fence, bam into the rail fence. The rabbit long gone down to the prickly pear. The dog training, rabbit. And then the dog comes back underneath the lower rail. So now we're wrapped around the rail. And And he's transferring cactus spines from his coat to my hands. God, fuck. Oh, hi. Mom comes out and finds us. Gave it another go last summer. Took him to McCormick Ranch for the fireworks show over the golf course lake. Tied the leash to the wheelchair frame just to get across the parking lot before the first boom. He's at a dead run when we hit the median.
Oh,
Ooh. And then I'm airborne.
oh.
And then I'm not airborne. And he's running across the golf course, pulling an empty wheelchair. Every time he slows down, the wheelchair smacks him in the hind legs and spurs him forward. And then boom, boom, boom. The main fireworks show starts. And then between the fireworks and the ghost wheelchair chasing him, 200-300 yards before anyone can run him down. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Since getting out of rehab, I've been hanging around with paraplegics. Parents have full use of their arms. Not me. I'm a quad, just faking it. There's this one guy I met at the tennis courts in South Scottsdale. He would zing up, pulled by his German Shepherd dog, down, stay, play tennis, and then come. Off they'd zing. Dang. I want to get a dog, the 19-year-old me says. That's nice, honey. The idea of my bringing home a dog is an outrage. And the best of times. And these were life turned upside down on its head times. I just stove in my skull and broke my neck. I was learning to navigate the world as a paralyzed person. My parents picking me up when I fall. Speaking of falling, it's time to try to get back up in the wheelchair again. I position myself as before. But this time I sit on the seat cushion first to try to give it a little help. And down, ass up, up to the edge again. I still need more fucking lift. And then I'm falling, but falling ass into the wheelchair. So then I'm sitting on the ground underneath my wheelchair. My legs are straight out with the foot beneath my thighs. And my head is jammed up underneath the underside of the wheelchair fucking seat. It's like a pratfall into a deck chair and I didn't even know you could fall that way. We were not dog people. My parents are the children of the Depression, Southside Chicago. I don't think a dog was ever an option at my dad's house. He was a kid, he was a only child once his kid sister died. His mother was away a lot, cleaning the fancy homes of the fancy people on Lake Michigan. His father, as my mother would say, was a mean drunk. He had him over just after we were married. I was very nervous. I served spaghetti. He looks at the plate. What's with the goddamn wop food? So I started crying. Now, that is your father's father. What your dad had to deal with. Happily, my mother had lots of stories from childhood, including the time they kept a small dog, unfortunately locked mostly in the basement, to 4 children, my mother, aunts, 2 uncles, squeamish of going down the steep basement steps, the dim and swimming light bulb, the dog frenzied at the isolation. The children would try to roller skate around with a cement floor, steel wheels slipping. The dog lunging and snapping until their father drove away with the dog to a farm where it could run through the fields and chase the sheep. I want to get a dog. Why can't we have a dog? They have a dog. Everybody else has a dog. Why can't we get a dog? Can't we get a dog? Please, can we have a dog? We were not dog people. We'd just be having no dogs, thank you. Just like a block wall fence or a grassy lawn or swimming pool or tennis court or horses. All the things our neighbors had that we ourselves did not. I was the sixth child. Soon there's a seventh, eventually an eighth. There just wasn't extraneous energy for a dog. Please, can we have a dog? I want to get a dog. They have a dog. Why can't we have a dog? The Canadas have a dog. My husband have a dog. Everybody has, why can't we get a dog? My parents gave it a throw. An early memory is the time we had a small black Scottish Terrier. Scotty? Blackie? I remember no affection for or from the dog, who nipped us and chased us and ran off in the desert at night to festoon our doorstep in the morning with disemboweled prairie dog. Then my father drove off with the dog to a farm where it could run through the fields and chase the sheep. Over time, Scotty, Blackie, faded from view. We settled back into not being dog people. Until I want to get a dog. That's nice, dear. After school, I'm gonna go look at some puppies after school. Have a nice day. Classified ads circle beside me. I drive out to Bell Road near the freeway, a dirt strip where people park cars with for sale signs in the windows. I find the blue camper van, the large cardboard box in the shade. It's wriggling with puppies. A big male with a black face comes toward me. So soft. Fat little belly. When I pull in the driveway that night, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, what the hell's that? It's our new puppy. Oh, Christ. Oh, Christ. Something's rustling above me. The underside of the citrus tree is a mass of spider webs. Black widows? The dirt berm is potholed with little burrows. Most likely Palo Verde beetles. The larvae feed on the roots for several years and they emerge as black roach-like flying insects, enormous at 3.5 inches. As children, we'd sit poised with sticks, waiting for them to poke out. Afraid at night to take the garbage out to the bins beneath the Palo Verde trees, the air is swarm with the flying insects. One the size of a sparrow, flapping in the air. Ah! Still afraid of them. I just don't really need them to. In the rehab hospital, I got strong enough to push a wheelchair, to bathe, to dress, to get a wheelchair in a car, out of the car. But to move home, I can only do it with my family's help. The shopping and schlepping, the cooking and the cleaning is a communal effort. Lost in it all, my younger siblings, their needs. Who doesn't want a 19-year-old quadriplegic to bring home a puppy? No, it'll be great. Ah, crap. Where's it gonna stay? How big is it gonna get? My room, 80, 85 pounds. 85 pounds? Ah, crap. What are we gonna call it? Era. Like bow and arrow? No. Era. Okay. Air is Gaelic for Ireland. And then you like a ra on the end. Oh, good Lord. But I had my own money from the accident. I hired a contractor, fenced in the side yard, put a doggy door in at the end of the hallway. You're gonna have to train that thing. You know who's gonna be picking up after that thing. That thing. The image of my friend's well-trained dog. The reality of this small puppy. Howling for its litter mates. Piss in the carpets, crap in the floor. Like I said, you know who's gonna be picking up after that thing. I start working the dog downtown at a trainer's. Eric quickly gets all the commands. Sit, stay, down, come. The issue is compliance. He does what he wants, when he wants. He sussed out my inability to stop him. The trainer's answer is coercive force. We're gonna get to where your command is the fucking voice of God. He ties a log line to the dog's collar along with the leash. I work the dog on lead and make the big show of taking off the leash. Then I work the dog off lead. When he bolts, I yell, come! And the trainer cranks on the log line. Boom! Air does a backflip. Does that hurt? Yeah. But doesn't injure. The trainer is consistent, repetitive, firm. Sit. Era learns to be very compliant around the trainer and to do whatever the fuck he wants at home. At home, no consistency. People coming in, out, giving the dog commands willy-nilly, the wrong way at the wrong time. Your dog won't come. Come, he's eating. Down, he just woke up. Plus, no follow through, no required compliance. You're just teaching the dog that commands are optional. You leave the door open, the dog bolts. You need to train that thing. Yeah, well, let me know when you want to come downtown and work the dog with me. No one ever comes downtown to work the dog with me.
I love that one too. All right, now we're gonna have Barbara Brady, and she's gonna be, she is a writer, a singer, and performer based in San Francisco Bay Area. In addition to Tell It on Tuesday, her 2022 schedule includes the Rogue Performance Festival, and she's going down to Fresno in March, I guess next week.
No.
Oh, it already happened.
It's over.
Oh, there we go. Shows what I know. And Orlando, I used to follow this thing also closely. Orlando Fringe Festival in May. Well, that would be fun. Her piece is called Modest ... because. So please let's give Barbara a.
Once upon a time, there was the best house ever. Grandmommy and Granddaddy's house is a pre-tweens dream house. First off, it's painted pink. Best color ever for this 7-year-old. The fence has little heart shapes cut in the boards and is covered with tiny flowers, like I imagine fairies would wear in their hair. The magic continues inside the front door. There's a hutch filled with porcelain figurines, like poodles and ballerinas, and I can play with them whenever I want. That's a kitchen. Woo! That's Grandmommy. She's from the Texas Panhandle, and down there they call grandparents Grandmommy and Granddaddy. She's always making peach cobbler or divinity fudge. I get to eat all I want. The living room and dining room are one big L shape. There's the sofa that Grandmommy slip covers different every year. This year it's pink. Yay! This is the house where anything goes. If it was a regular fairy tale, it would only be gingerbread frosted with sugar. Grandmommy and Granddaddy know better. Yes, there's a dish filled with ribbon candy. Go ahead, take all you want. But the real attraction is they let me do everything I can't do at home or even anywhere else. It's the opposite of Grandma's house. She is my fussy grandmother. When I go to her house, it's to help her with chores, and then my reward is I get to play cribbage with her. She collects toys and dolls that I am not allowed to play with. And she always has a parakeet named Pretty Boy who likes to bite. And she's always trying to teach every pretty boy to say his name. Pretty, 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 pretty boy. Pretty, 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 pretty. Damn it, pretty boy. Pretty boy never learns, probably because he dies too young, probably of secondhand smoke.
Right.
Grandma keeps kids at arm's length. Grandmommy and Granddaddy's is a house of full permissions. Do what you like. Above all, be creative. So let's pretend it's let's make a deal. What's behind curtain number 1, Monty? The backyard. Where guess what the flowers are? Pink. Yay! I can pick as many as I want, and Granddaddy just grows more. Here's the best part. This door goes back into my room when I spend the night here. Isn't it sweet? All these paintings are by Grandmommy. And I have my own little dressing table with dusting powder and a silver mirror and brush set. It's like my own little playhouse. So this door goes to the hall where the rest of the bedrooms are. That's Uncle Jay's room. Uncle Jay? He's my funny uncle. And by funny, I mean odd. He was in high school when I was born, and now he's about 22 and he still lives at home. He's just kind of around. So there's the bathroom and Grandmommy and Granddaddy's room. And right here, it's always warm. It's the furnace closet. Granddaddy is constantly fiddling with the thermostat. He says the furnace is temperamental, but I know it's a monster. And this is where it lives. His name is Hercules Heatworks, which is painted on the side in a grotesque smile with bolts for eyes. And he has 7 arms that go to every room in the house. And when Granddaddy gets him going, he huffs and he puffs and his breath smells like dust. I hid in there one time for hide and seek, And I did not like Hercules staring at me and breathing on me. But Hercules isn't all bad because he keeps the house nice and warm, like Granddaddy when he gives me a big bear hug. And I get to stay up way past my normal bedtime until Granddaddy turns Hercules off. That's that, time for bed. It gets really cold in my room at night. So I go looking for a place to warm up. Grandmommy and Granddaddy's room. There's 2 separate beds with grown-up size lumps under the covers. I can't decide which one. Then one of the blankets flips up and I climb in. I'm a warm and cozy little person snuggled up with Granddaddy, who puts his hand down my PJs and cups it over my butt cheek. What? Nuh-uh. It's wonderful. When I eventually relate this to my therapist, her professional passivity is disturbed. What? You tell me. We've talked about boundary violations. Boundary violations. If that was so god awful, how come Granddaddy's not the villain of this story? You know, the difference between Granddaddy and Uncle Jay. Granddaddy really knew how to make a girl feel good. It just seems sweet, honestly. If anything else went on, it didn't hurt, and I don't remember it. I'm not asking you to remember anything. Just look at it from a grown-up perspective. It's what passed for a sense of security. Some memories are open to interpretation, others not so much. I'm almost 13, pubescent and cranky. Way outgrown make pretend with the poodles and the ballerinas. Grandmommy and Granddaddy's is not a destination vacation, just a family obligation. We're all here for a routine Sunday dinner, church dress and all. I feel like my childhood is a small box I'm being forced to grow up in like a square watermelon. Uncle Jay's still living at home. You feel kind of sorry for him because all the stories that grown-ups tell about him are sad. How his dog Lady got mange and they had her put to sleep and didn't tell him. He never had a chance to say goodbye. Or his high school girlfriend, who he really, really loved. She dumped him all of a sudden, and he never knew why. Or his high school favorite teacher, the one who helped him win the statewide science fair. And there's still an old newspaper clipping on the refrigerator about that. He died of electrocution in Uncle Jay's senior year. So I kind of feel like I want to try and be nice to Uncle Jay. He's teaching himself Spanish, and he wants to give me a tour of these vocabulary labels he's taped up all over the house. La Puerta de Entrada, La Conejara. These figurines are so tacky. La Cochina. Oh God, another peach cobbler. He skips La Sala de Estar y El Comedor and leads me down El Pasillo to mi puerta, mi dormitorio, mi guitarra, mi telescopio, mi cama. Did you catch the pronoun change? This is his room, his stuff, his bed. And I'm looking through the eyepiece of his telescope. Oh! Uncle Jay came up from behind and lifted up my skirt and put his hand between my legs. I leave the room without looking back and join the rest of the family in the living room. Never said a word, never made a sound. When I eventually relate this to my therapist, I'm like, what if it was nothing? What if I interpreted something totally innocent, totally wrong all these years? Yeah, that's what a lot of abuse victims say. But wouldn't a normal person have said, excuse me, or oh my gosh, I'm so sorry? Yeah, but he must have been in shock. Knowing him, he's completely innocent about female anatomy, and he brushes up against me, and it is not what he's expecting. You're excusing him? The thing is, getting felt up by my funny uncle, and by funny, I mean disgusting, is not the most embarrassing part of this incident. It so happens that was the day I got my very first period. What Uncle Jay encounters when he puts his hand between my legs is a giant old-fashioned sanitary napkin. And this is before Carefree and Stay Free and ultra thin pads with adhesive and wings. It's a bundle of cotton wadding whose design had not changed all that much since the Civil War. And it's held in place with this special elastic belt. Anybody here remember those? But it is the #1 best-selling brand of its day, Modeste. The Modeste product designers might have been stuck in the Victorian age, but its marketing people were progressive. They came up with a groundbreaking ad campaign featuring glamour shots of beautiful women and the slogan, Modeste, because. Because. There's this enormous social secret that's so widespread it affects half the population. But we don't talk about it because. And as of this morning, I harbor that secret, me personally. And I can't talk about it or don't talk about it because. The 15 minutes me and Mom talked about it were incredibly uncomfortable. I'm her first daughter, and she's got the Modeste brand starter kit she sent away for her. But she's nervous as heck. I get the basics and figure I will just take it from here. Then along comes Uncle Jay and sticks his clammy hand between my legs. And now I have a secret within a secret within a secret. Only this one is more unspoken than all the other secrets. It echoes in my brain forever. Oh yes, because it's the only ultra absorbent advanced protection between me and my pedophile. Thank God for walls. They're not very thick, but they can put miles between you and what's on the other side, which is a gray head with age spots, a homemade hacked up haircut, a neglected toothless smile that's only 6 inches away. Thank God for walls. It's Uncle Jay, still living at home. He honors his father and mother, who he cared for until they died, by not changing one thing in the house or garden, except letting it get covered with dust or rust or die. Who he's become is someone who puts masking tape on a cut, even when you give him a Band-Aid. Who hasn't cleaned the house or thrown anything away for 30 years. He's the apparently homeless guy as he's shuffling down Main Street. If there's something on the sidewalk with a free sign on it, he's the one who snaps it up and tosses it into his shopping cart. But his shopping cart is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath Silicon Valley home that he owns. He's your weird guy who lives next door. He's my oldest living relative. Uncle Jay just got out of intensive care where he was saved from an infection he'd been ignoring for months that suddenly became life-threatening. And when I get the call from the actually homeless guy Uncle Jay lets live in his backyard, I rush to the house where the Grim Reaper is about to lead Uncle Jay off to eternity. And still, it takes some doing to convince Uncle Jay that this is not a problem we can solve with masking tape. I get him to the best hospital, interpret his oddness to the doctors, jump through the Medicare hoops from a COVID-safe distance while also sanitizing his house for a germ-free homecoming that comes much sooner than I wished. As soon as the antibiotics kick in and Uncle Jay starts to feel a little better, he wants out of the hospital now. He unclips the fall monitor from his waist, pulls the IV out of his arm and starts to walk out, which they won't let him do until I come down and vouch for his mental acuity and also promise that he won't be home alone. This means I will be staying with Uncle Jay until he's out of the woods, and he's far from that. His heart is pounding at 160 beats a minute, i.e. on the verge of a heart attack, and the infection could go either way. So I get to spend the night under the same roof as Uncle Jay, which I swore I would never in a million years do. Or if I did, I'd sleep in Grandmommy and Granddaddy's room. But that room is wall to wall hoarded goods. I get my old room. The paintings are faded. The dressing table's buried under old clothes. The decades of tax returns and bank statements cluttering the floor. And the mattress. Schlumping and filthy. There's this faint scent. It's dusting powder. Maybe lingering from me having spilled a whole box of it playing dress up. Or maybe because this was Grandmommy's room when she died. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And my head and Uncle Jay's are just 6 inches apart. Thank God for walls. In the middle of the night, you get woken up by sounds on the other side of the wall. Coughing, rustling. Is he trying to get your attention? What was that thump? You have to get up and check. You don't get up and check. But you wonder, should you have? In the morning, if anybody asks, you're just gonna say, I was sound asleep. I didn't hear anything. After all, he takes his own risks. He pulls the IV out of his own arm, spits out his heart medicine. He openly defies doctor's orders. You are not to blame if the worst has happened. Trouble is, you have a motive.
you so much. It was really great. I would like to invite the performers up here for a finale bow. Please, Mark and Barbara and David, will you guys come up here, please? And it's, there you are. You guys can agree on. So.
For our finale.
As we used to do, and people don't have as much going on, but people are getting stuff going. There's a chance for you to tell the audience what you have coming up, or a website, or anything that you'd like to say that you're doing, working on, whatever.
Well, I've been very lucky in the Fringe Festival lotteries this year because I get to do Orlando Fringe at the end of June and Cincinnati Fringe at the beginning, or Orlando at the end of May and Cincinnati at the beginning of June. So, and I'm really grateful to Rebecca for this opportunity to perform this piece, which is completely different. I'm excited. Thank you very much for coming.
That's great. This is the first portion of what right now is a 30-minute piece. I did it last weekend on the Marsh International Zoom Festival. And it's 30 minutes right now. It might get bulked up. The structure of it can hold more. So who knows where it goes. It's very fun to just do new writing. It's been a while since I've done a lot of new writing. So that's it.
And, you know, basically I am a filmmaker, so this is the divergence from what I normally do. But I want to explore this a little further in terms of something that I can do with a film, whether it's a personal essay film or even something more fictional. And then just, you know, I have my bicycle videos that are on YouTube. If you want to see a guy riding his bike around San Francisco,
So wait,
look up my name. Just look up David Rathode,
okay.
the David version, and I'm sure it'll come up. Yeah, so that's it. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, what Mark and I are working on a project called Formerly Incarcerated People's Project, which Pearl is a performer in, that we're collaborating on, that has a kind of a workshop performance in May, which you can come see. We're doing it, not here, we're doing it at the Piano Fight in downtown Oakland. So you can let you know about that. Anyway, so that's it. And we're really lucky that the Marsh is, you know, here. We're very fortunate to be able to do Television Tuesday. We're really happy that you guys came, and we're glad that you guys logged on. So anyway, thank you. It feels nice to be back here. You're on your way, 30, yeah. Thank you. That's great.
Rebecca.
Have you done it at all like that?
No.
Good, huh?
Harry.
That's right. I'm good at
Yeah.
You know what I got?